This right here is the Mitsubishi X-Force. That's right, we're calling it the X-Force. And by the looks alone, it promises to be quite a compelling drive, especially from a brand such as Mitsubishi. I've got high hopes for this. We'll be heading over to the Tarlac circuit, and we'll be testing out its drive, its comfort, its performance, and then heading over to La Union to even push it to its very limits. So join me as we do this first drive of the Mitsubishi X-Force. All right, so when it comes to the size of the Mitsubishi X-Force, it's not really that large, which is of course something that you really want when it comes to a normal city car. And I love the colors as well. I love especially that orange color scheme that they've got in the Mitsubishi X-Force, but today we'll be driving the classic white one. It doesn't just have the 60-40 split configuration rear seats. It's got 33, 66, 66, or should I say 66.3, 33.3, and 66.3 rear folding seats, which adds a little bit more to the functionality and versatility of the interior space. And I like that. So as you can see here, it's got all the space you need despite, all of us bringing these large bags. Plus, you've got power tailgate, which is always much appreciated. Mitsubishi was kind enough to give us iPhone 15 Pro Maxes fully paid right here inside the car, but we're going to use this just for Spotify purposes because one of the hallmark features of the Mitsubishi X-Force is its Yamaha tuned speakers. What difference does it make with normal speakers? We're going to find out. All right, so we're behind the wheel of the all-new Mitsubishi X-Force. All right, the X-Force is powered by a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated engine that makes around, a little bit over 100 horsepower, 104 horsepower. All right, 104 horsepower and 141 newton meters of torque. If that sounds pretty familiar, it's pretty much the same engine that you'll find in the Expander and the Expander Cross. That good old reliable 1.5 liter four banger. Anyway, but the only difference between this and the Expander, though, is that you got a CVT here. And I've long said that the Expander and the Expander Cross should have a CVT. If any car out there should get a CVT, despite many people's objections towards the type of technology, it's the Expander. And this is why you should get a CVT in this engine, because it drives smooth. You still get the same old CVT whine from the engine, but it gives you smooth acceleration, barely any transmission or transmission kicks for going upshift and downshift because it's just a CVT and it is nice and smooth. My initial riding or driving impressions is that it is pretty stable, especially in high speed, or whatever the high speed would be for the X-Force. But I definitely like the suspension that you have here. The brakes is also very nice. You can easily modulate it despite you going through triple digit speeds, which is not going to be a lot of the time you'll be driving the X-Force. This is more of a city car, but now that we're driving it on the highway, it feels fairly nice. See, you can hear the CVT drone right there. But it's definitely a wonderful experience. Meanwhile, we are driving on our way to our first stopover at Lakeshore gas station, so check back with you guys later. So my first impressions of driving, as I've told you earlier, the ride, the suspension doesn't feel crashy at all, despite the shorter wheelbase compared to other crossover SUVs. It felt very solid, as well. You've got a nice commanding view of the road. I gotta attribute that to the higher than usual seating capacity that we got in the Mitsubishi X-Force, but as well as this design right here on top of the hood. It's raised a little high up so that you definitely know exactly where your position is in space. First impressions, it's a winner for me. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of power. Like I said, performance really isn't everything when it comes to everyday cars, but the kind and the quality of performance that we get out of this baby, it's something else, and it's definitely worth a look. And if you guys are wondering what the fuel economy was during that entire run, just remember that we've been hooning this thing as much as we can, and it was a pretty fast convoy. We still were able to get around 12 kilometers per liter on the highway. Again, despite the fact we got 4 people on board, and we're not trying to be economical at the least. All right, so we just arrived here at the Tarlac Circuit Hill. We'll be testing out the Mitsubishi XFORCE to its limits. One thing about these types of cars is that these are the ones that you actually have so much fun driving around the track in, because although you don't have that much power, you actually get to push it really hard and still stay safe. So I was riding shotgun in Mitsubishi XFORCE, and I was still able to be quite comfortable despite the fact that it's a small crossover SUV, and I was able to play around with those Yamaha tuned speakers. And I gotta say, I'm not an audiophile myself, but I know what sounds good to my ear, and this one definitely sounds above average, more so than a lot of the stock speakers that we find on the cars that we test around. So let's go ahead, let's take these cars out on the track and go test them out. That was definitely crazy. I mean, I was surprised that the Mitsubishi XFORCE was able to hold itself quite well around the track, in the mud, in the gravel, off-road. It is just quite the capable crossover SUV. I mean, despite the fact that this is definitely and most certainly a soft-roader, or something that you'd be used in the city or in urban confines, in a pinch, if you definitely need to bring the Mitsubishi XFORCE off-roading, it can definitely hold its own. That's been my first look of the Mitsubishi XFORCE. If you're in the market for a small, compact crossover SUV, this is definitely a great option. Pricing can be found in the description box below, so watch out for our full review only on our Zigwheels Philippines YouTube channel. So subscribe and hit that notification icon, and I'll see you guys next time.